You've seen fog before. Real fog. The kind that rolls in off a river on a cold morning, where you can barely see your hand in front of your face. It's claustrophobic. It swallows sound. It makes you feel trapped. Now imagine that fog covering everything. Not just your neighborhood, not just your city or your country. Imagine fog so thick it covers the entire Earth, the entire solar system, the entire galaxy. Imagine that fog was all there is. For 380,000 years, that is what the universe was. But it wasn't fog made of water vapor. It was something far stranger. The early universe was a soup of particles so hot and so dense that light couldn't travel through it. Light was trapped. Light was scattered. Photons, the little packets of light that let you see this screen right now, were bouncing off particles billions of times per second, going nowhere, carrying their energy in all directions at once. The universe was dark. Not the darkness of night, where your eyes can adjust and you see stars. Not the darkness of a cave, where at least something could exist. This was complete opacity. This was a universe so hot that matter itself hadn't even settled into the shapes we recognize. There were no atoms, no molecules, no stars yet, no galaxies, no planets, no life, no eyes to see anything anyway. And then something changed. Around 380,000 years after the Big Bang, which sounds impossibly small, which sounds like a fraction of a second to us, the universe cooled just enough. The temperature dropped from about 3,000 degrees Kelvin to something that allowed electrons to finally stick to protons. Atoms formed. Real atoms. Suddenly, for the first time since the Big Bang exploded into being, light could travel through space without being constantly scattered. Light could move freely. The fog lifted. This moment, this single transition, from a universe of complete darkness to a universe that was suddenly transparent, created something that we can still detect today. In fact, we're swimming in evidence of it right now. You are covered in ancient light. Trillions of photons from that moment are passing through your body every second. They've been traveling through space for 13.8 billion years, and they arrived at Earth a very long time ago. We just didn't know they were there until 1964. Two astronomers named Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson were working with a large radio antenna in New Jersey. They were trying to detect signals from distant galaxies, but they kept picking up interference, a constant hiss, a background noise that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. They checked for equipment problems. They cleaned pigeon droppings off the antenna. Still, the hiss remained. They didn't know it, but they had discovered the oldest light in the universe, the cosmic microwave background, the radiation from that first moment when the universe became transparent, the light from when there were no stars, no galaxies, no chemistry, no time as we understand it. Let me show you what we're talking about by starting with something familiar. A candle flame is about 1,500 Kelvin. If you put your hand near it, you feel the heat radiating outward. That's real radiation, electromagnetic waves being emitted because of temperature. The higher the temperature, the smaller the wavelengths. The hotter something is, the more energetic its light. Now think about the surface of the Sunday 5,500 Kelvin. Yellow-white light pouring out. It would burn your skin instantly. The heat travels 93 million miles and still scorches us. The early universe at the moment of recombination, that's the scientific term for when electrons and protons finally stuck together, was 3,000 Kelvin. Hotter than the sun's surface. Hotter than any furnace you could ever build. But something remarkable happened as the universe expanded over billions of years. Expansion means space itself was stretching. And as space stretched, those ancient photons got stretched too. Their wavelengths got longer. They cooled down. They shifted from being visible light into infrared. then into microwaves, then into radio waves. Today, that ancient light arrives at us as microwaves, the same type of radiation your microwave oven uses to heat food. Except these photons have been traveling since before there were galaxies, since before there was chemistry, since before there was time. We've mapped this background radiation with incredible precision. NASA has built satellites specifically to measure it. And what they found is that the cosmic microwave background covers the entire sky. Every direction you look, if you could see microwaves, you would see ancient light coming toward you. This light is not coming from one point in space. It's coming from all directions equally. This is the key to understanding something truly strange about the universe. The Big Bang didn't happen in one location that we can point to. It happened everywhere, at once. Think about this carefully. When the universe began, it wasn't that something exploded outward into empty space. Space itself was created. The Big Bang didn't happen at a location, it happened to all of space. Every particle that exists was squeezed into an infinitely hot, infinitely dense point. And then space itself began to expand. The universe didn't expand into anything. There was no outside. There was only the universe. And then the universe got bigger. The cosmic microwave background is the light from when this expanding universe was young. It is literally the light from creation, stretched and cooled by billions of years of expansion, now traveling through space in all directions. Here's where it gets genuinely disorienting. The light we see from the cosmic microwave background is only slightly younger than the light from stars in the most distant galaxies we can observe. But there's a crucial difference. That distant star light came from objects that formed long after the universe was transparent. The stars we see in distant galaxies formed maybe 100 million years after the Big Bang. But the cosmic microwave background comes from 380,000 years after it began. So when you look at ancient galaxies, you're seeing light that traveled through an already mature universe to reach you. When you look at the cosmic microwave background, when you could detect it with the right equipment, you're seeing the light from the moment the universe was young enough to be nearly empty. The radiation was emitted from a distance so vast it defies comparison. The light we detect today has traveled 46 billion light-years to reach us. Not because space is just 46 billion light-years across, it's much bigger now due to expansion. But because of that expansion, this ancient light has been traveling for 13.8 billion years through stretching space, covering an enormous distance. Consider this. The observable universe is about 93 billion light-years across. That's the diameter of everything we can possibly see with any telescope. Light from the edge of the observable universe has taken 46.5 billion years to reach us. The cosmic microwave background comes from that same direction. It is the oldest thing we can see. It is the edge of time itself. But here's the gut punch fact that makes you feel the weight of the universe. In the cosmic microwave background, scientists found tiny fluctuations in temperature. Variations of about 1 part in 100,000. These fluctuations are incredibly small, but they are the seeds of everything. These tiny spots of slightly denser material, slightly hotter regions in the early universe, are the places where galaxies would eventually form. The tiny variations in temperature are the reason you exist. Your body is made of atoms that were forged in stars. Those stars formed in galaxies. Those galaxies formed because of fluctuations in the cosmic microwave background. Variations so small that they represent a 1 in 100,000 difference in density. If those fluctuations had been any smaller, galaxies would never have formed. No stars would exist. No planets. No life. You would not exist. The universe would be a perfectly uniform, infinitely expanding cloud of hydrogen and helium, cooling forever into absolute darkness. With no structure, no complexity, no observers. If those fluctuations had been any larger, the universe would have collapsed in on itself almost immediately. No time for structure to form. No time for anything. You exist because of a 1 in 100,000 fluctuation in a radiation field from 13.8 billion years ago. You are made of stardust. Yes, but that stardust is arranged in exactly the configuration it is because of quantum fluctuations in the earliest moments of the universe. You are literally written into the seeds of creation. Stand outside on a clear night. Find the darkest sky you can. Look up. See those stars? The faint ones barely visible to the naked eye? Every photon that reaches your eye from those stars was emitted long ago. Light takes time to travel. Even moving at 186,000 miles per second, light from distant stars takes years or centuries or millions of years to reach us. But if you could see microwaves, if your eyes could detect radiation with wavelengths measured in millimeters instead of nanometers, if you could perceive the universe as it truly is, beyond what human senses allow, you would see something more ancient than any star. You would see light from the edge of time itself. The cosmic microwave background is not a distant object. It is a shell surrounding us. It is the surface of the observable universe, the limit of how far back in time we can possibly look. Beyond that light, there is no more information. We cannot see what came before because there was no before. Time itself began at the Big Bang. This is not metaphor. This is not poetry. This is a physical fact that we have confirmed with satellites and instruments and measurements. The universe has an edge in time. You can measure the temperature of it. It is 2.7 Kelvin above absolute zero. Cold enough that it was nearly invisible until we developed the technology to perceive it. We live inside the light of the creation event. The photons emitted when the universe first became transparent have been traveling through space for nearly 14 billion years, and they surround us completely. In every direction you look, in every frequency of electromagnetic radiation that you cannot see with your eyes, ancient light is coming toward you from the edge of time. This changes something fundamental about how we understand our place in the universe. We are not at the center of creation, but we are inside creation. Every photon that makes up the cosmic microwave background existed before the Sunday, before the Milky Way, before the Earth, before complexity, before thought, before anything resembling meaning. And yet here you are, conscious, aware, able to understand that you are made of atoms arranged in just the right way, in just the right combination, in just the right location, that you can perceive and comprehend a universe billions of years old. The ancient light carries a message, though not an intentional one. It says, "You are temporary. Your individual existence is a tiny ripple in an enormous ocean of time and space. Your life will flicker and vanish. Everyone you love will vanish. The earth will vanish. The sun will vanish. Every star you see will burn out. Galaxies will disperse. The universe itself will keep expanding forever, growing colder, darker, emptier, until heat itself becomes so dispersed that nothing remains but perfect darkness. But there is something else in that message too. That you exist at all is impossible. That light from creation travels across billions of years and meets eyes capable of understanding it, that you can detect that light, that you can comprehend what it means, that you can reconstruct the history of the universe from its radiation. This is not an accident. This is what consciousness means. It is the universe becoming aware of itself. It is creation looking back at creation. The first light had to cross nearly 14 billion years of expanding space to reach you. It has been cooling and shifting wavelengths the entire way. It passed through galaxies being born and dying. It passed through stellar furnaces fusing new elements. It passed through planets forming. It passed through life emerging. It passed through consciousness evolving. And finally, it reached your planet. It reached your location in space. It reached the instruments and the eyes and the minds capable of understanding what it meant. That is not nothing. When you look at the cosmic microwave background, when you see the oldest light in the universe, ancient beyond comprehension, coming from the edge of time itself, you are not looking outward. You are looking backward. You are looking at a time when you did not exist. When Earth did not exist. When the atoms that would eventually become you were not yet formed. You are seeing the universe before it knew what it would become. The fog that filled the entire universe for 380,000 years finally lifted. Light became free. Structure began to form. Galaxies arose. Stars ignited. Planets coalesced. Life emerged. Consciousness developed. And one small species on one small planet learned to detect the light from that moment. Learn to understand it. Learn to see themselves in it. The universe is large. The universe is old. The universe is mostly empty. The universe is indifferent to your existence. But the light from creation still travels toward you. Every moment of every day. From every direction at once. Carrying in its ancient wavelengths the story of how you came to be. The first light is still reaching Earth. It is still arriving at your location. It is still reminding you that you are made of stardust and starlight, and that the most ancient light in existence is passing through you right now. You are not outside the universe observing it. You are inside it. Inside the light. Inside the story. Inside the only time and space that has ever existed, looking back at the moment it all began, able to comprehend what you see, able to ask why you exist at all. The universe became transparent 380,000 years after the Big Bang. And in that transparency, in that moment when light finally could travel freely, it was already writing the story of how one day, billions of years later, conscious beings would exist. Beings who could detect that ancient light. Beings who could understand it. Beings like you.